Hey there, welcome back to our Harkla YouTube channel. We're so happy to have you here today. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Jessica. We're the Certified Occupational Therapy Assistants with Harkla. And today we're going to talk about the connection between speech and language development and primitive reflexes. Really quick, we want to let you know about our digital course holiday sale happening right now. You can save 20% on any of our digital courses when you shop now through December 23rd. Go to the link below to start shopping. And if you're an OT practitioner, you can earn continuing education through AOTA when you purchase one of our digital courses.
So we're going a little different route with today's video because we found some really interesting research to cover. We're going to kind of highlight some of the important components of these research articles that we want you to pay close attention to. So we're going to review these and then we're going to give you 5 tips as well at the end of the episode that will help kind of bridge the connection from research to treatment interventions.
Yep. First article is from ASHA, so if you are a speech language pathologist, you might really like this one. This article is titled Developmental Language Disorder and Uninhibited Primitive Reflexes in Young Children. This article found that developmental language disorder is a developmental disorder where children fail to acquire language in the absence of a clear cause. The purpose of the study was to better understand the underlying motor deficits starting from uninhibited primary reflexes, which are the most basic stage of motor development. Children with impaired language development underwent slower neuromotor development, which means that their primitive reflexes basically got stuck and didn't integrate when they were supposed to, and they were able to find that connection to those retained primitive reflexes and this language disorder. And finally, the study found that all primitive reflexes, the Moro reflex, the STNR in flexion and extension, the ATNR, the TLR, and the spinal galant, turned out to be statistically significantly different between the children without a language disorder and the children with the language disorder.
So moral of the story is speech therapists should be incorporating, or they should at least be working with an OT to work on integrating these primitive reflexes if they're working with a client who has language disorders or language processing challenges.
Mm-hmm. All right, another one for you. This research article is titled Evaluation of Primary Reflexes in Children with Communication Disorder aged 5 to 10 years in relation to preschool and primary school competencies. Now, this research article was taken from the 13th Annual International Conference of Education, Research, and Innovation. Try saying that 5 times fast. So this article dove into primitive reflexes, communication, and found that through a detailed diagnostic, all children with communication disorders in the research sample had a problem with balance. More than one primary reflex persisted in all diagnosed children, and the most common persistent reflexes were the Moro reflex and the ATNR, asymmetrical tonic neck reflex.
So another article just showing the importance of integrating these primitive reflexes in order to see improvements in the speech and communication area, which is why we want to make sure that we have this team approach when we are working with kids in therapy, OT, PT, speech, because one area can make such a big impact in another area.
Yep.
So the next article that we found that we wanted to touch on is called The Impact of the Orofacial Area Reflexes on Infants' Speech Development, and this is from the Central European Journal of Social Sciences and Humanities. Now, the takeaway from this article is that the absence of orofacial area reflexes or their impaired integration inhibits the child's normal speech development. It impairs motor efficiency of the articulation organs and consequently leads to the incorrect articulation of sounds. So if you are a speech therapist, you're working on articulation with a child, then it's important to either test for or make sure that you are integrating these reflexes or checking to see if they are integrated, because if they are, then you can go a different route in your area of expertise. That's not our area of expertise, but you can at least rule it out that these reflexes aren't negatively impacting their ability to communicate.
Or if they are, you can address them as part of your treatment session.
Mm-hmm.
One more article for you for today. There's a lot more out there. If you were to go on Google Scholar and do your research, there's a lot out there. But this is the last one we're going to talk about today. This one is Primitive Reflex Integration and Reading Achievement in the Classroom. And this is from the Journal of Neurology and Experimental Neuroscience.
This is actually one of my favorite articles. I have like referred to this article for years.
Okay.
I love it. It's so fascinating.
Okay, so this article talks about research using reflex integration programs such as INPP and primary movement program have shown improvements in reading, writing, mathematics, and spelling. While these programs use different movements and the time completing the research was longer, the RMT results also show improvements in reading and reduced reflex profile scores. The range of research information supports the use of reflex integration programs and increases the options available specifically for teachers in the classroom.
Yes, so fascinating. Hopefully that was intriguing for you, because obviously it's intriguing for us. We just want to share this information. Plus we get asked all the time, hey, can you show me the research on this? Hey, can you show me the research on this? Hey, I'm working on my capstone project. Can you share the research with us? We're like, no, we can't. You can find it, we promise. But we just wanted to share just a few things, like a few tips that if you are either working with a child who has language challenges or communication challenges, we just want to share some tips that you can implement. Again, we are not speech language pathologists, but these are tips that we implement into our sessions with our own personal kiddos, and they really do make a difference.
So tip number 1 is to work with a trained speech language pathologist. Tip number 2 is to work with a trained occupational therapist. These two professions really specialize in the speech and language disorder, the primitive reflexes, and hopefully can work together to help your child the best they can.
Mm-hmm. Tip number 3 is to use descriptive language when you're talking to your child. I'll never forget, I was just hanging out, talking with some of my neighbor friends, and we all have kids the same age. And when I made a comment about how I talk out loud in front of my kids all the time, especially when they were younger, she was like, wait, what? You talk to your kids? You talk around your kids? You talk out loud? And I was like, I literally narrate everything I do. If you set up like a reality camera in my house, you'd be like, what is this lady who is this lady talking to? I'm just narrating everything that I do, because that's just how babies and that's how kids learn how to communicate. So it's around the holidays right now, so if you're setting up your tree or putting ornaments on and you have like a young baby or a young toddler, you can talk about the color of the ornaments, the shape of the ornaments. You can feel the texture of the ornaments, and you can just talk out loud and say, wow, this shiny ornament is so blue and it's so pretty, and I'm gonna put it on the top of the tree and it's staying up there, it's not falling down. And you can just explain what you're doing, and just those little changes will make a huge difference in their ability to communicate.
And I think too, making sure you're being very descriptive, like Rachel said. So make sure you're not just saying the
tree is green.
The tree is green.
Yeah.
Like describe it. Describe how tall it is, how big it is, how it feels, how it smells. You know, the ornaments, instead of just the blue ornament, you can say it's blue and shiny and round like a ball. And really just vocalizing those descriptions can help your child internalize all of that language, and then maybe you can ask them questions and help them answer those questions in a descriptive way.
Tip number 4 is to include activities that work on both sides of the body, bringing both sides of the body together, crossing midline, making sure that we are helping the brain communicate and make new connections. And you can do that simply by doing activities like jumping jacks or cross crawls, or just helping them touch across their body, doing a high five game where they're crossing midline. Really any playful activity. You can put stickers on different parts of the room and have them cross and touch and move top and bottom. Just getting movement, crossing the body, bringing both sides of the brain together can also really help with communication.
We do have a video with, it's like 5 bilateral integration activities. So we'll link that in the description for 5 different activities you can try that work on coordinating both sides of the body.
Yep.
Tip number 5 is to follow your child's lead during conversation. So you can try this today if you have time, or try this tomorrow, but put your phone away, sit down with your child on the floor while they're playing whatever they want to play with, and just follow their lead when they're talking. You can ask them questions about what they're doing, you know, where do you want to put the truck right now? Where's the truck going to go? And follow their lead in whatever they're playing with, whatever they're talking about, because if your child is motivated and interested in it, they're more likely to use descriptive language. They're more likely to engage in speech and language when it's something they're actually interested in.
And this goes along with our kids who are pre-verbal and maybe they don't have verbal communication yet. You can still talk about what they're doing and what you're doing and how they're doing it and where they're putting toys and what's happening. You can still talk out loud. That way they're hearing, and most likely they're able to process the information that they're hearing, but they're just not outputting speech at this point. So just continue to make sure that regardless of where your child is on that speech spectrum, that you are using these tips and you're doing so consistently.
Yeah. And I think finally, we didn't have this one on our list, but finally we do highly encourage you to look more into primitive reflexes. If you're not already working on integrating your child's primitive reflexes, talk with your therapist. Look at our digital course, see if it's right for you, and just make sure you are working on integrating primitive reflexes.
If you have any questions at all or comments or thoughts, you can put those in the comments below. We love and welcome your feedback and your input on topics like this, especially if it was interesting or meaningful to you.
Yeah, make sure you share this video with a friend. If you are a therapist, share this with your fellow therapists, share this with speech language pathologists that you know, share this with anybody who you think it might help. Make sure you click the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
And also come hang out with us on Instagram. That's where we like to hang out. You can find us at Harkla_family as well as at All Things Sensory Podcast.
And make sure you're listening to our podcast, All Things Sensory. We're on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts.
And with that, we'll plan on seeing you next week for another video.
Okay, bye.
Let me just get out my handy dandy computer. So we are going a little different. Okay. Okay, here we go. All right.